Well, I am excited to be talking to Mark Weinstein today in Cedarville's newsroom. Mark and I have had the privilege of serving together for
11 years, Janice.
11 years, and he is Cedarville's Executive Director of Public Relations. And so our Chapter 15 includes a section on public relations, and I thought the best person for you all to be able to hear from would be from Mark. He's been at Cedarville 11 years, but how many years do you have in public relations in your career?
I lost track, but it's around 30.
30 years. So I just want to say to you students that Cedarville is incredibly blessed to have someone with that much experience who's leading our PR efforts. I have learned from Mark and I enjoy working with him, and I'm excited for you to hear from him a little bit this evening. So Mark, thank you for spending time with me in the Cedarville University newsroom.
Well, I had to say yes to you. I mean, you're my vice president, so for the students, I'm actually out of town on the day of the class, and so Janice Dr. Saplik creatively suggested we could do something like this. So I'm glad to be here.
So we are in the Cedarville newsroom, and I'm guessing that most of the students may not even know that we have one.
Yeah.
So maybe just describe where it is and how you use it, just to kind of introduce where we are.
Well, we use it, first of all, it's located in the lower level of the library. So when you come down the steps, you make a hard left turn, and you would walk right into the newsroom. So this newsroom has been in operation, I think, 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to, one, use it as a student laboratory for TV interviews. So we've done a lot of TV interviews over that course of a period of time. But we also do a lot of academic videos, a lot of marketing videos through here. It's a great venue. It really is it's a feather in Cedarville's cap because not a lot of schools have this kind of venue where they can use it for teaching of students and to advance the marketing mission of the university. So it's a credit to you for allowing us to have this.
Well, Dr. White had this vision as well, which has been great. From the newsroom, our faculty can go live with local media. They can go live with CNN, Fox News. It's incredibly equipped, so we're very blessed. So that's where we're doing this interview, Mark. Yep. So thanks for taking the time. Just background for you and for them. This is a marketing class, right? So we've been talking about the marketing mix, which is product, price, place, and our last group is promotion. Actually, in this textbook, they do promotion last, and when most of us think of it as the first thing.
Right.
And then within promotion, there's the promotion mix. Mm-hmm. And so what this textbook identifies is advertising, personal selling, public relations, sales promotions, and direct and digital marketing. So tonight, the second half of the class, we're going to be talking about public relations specifically. So thinking about PR at Cedarville, the book kind of gives an idea of the functions and roles that typically fall under PR in an organization, but different organizations differ.
Yeah.
So at Cedarville, what falls under the umbrella of public relations?
Okay, so social media is a big element for us. Media relations is just as big. Government relations, community relations, internal communication, crisis management or crisis communication. Those are probably the big 5 that I would say that fall under what we're trying to do here at Cedarville.
So actually, we're organized pretty much like the book.
Yeah.
What they talk about in terms of functions of public relations, Cedarville is organized basically that way. So PR is part of our integrated marketing communication strategy.
Right.
As you think about your role, what is the value that PR brings to everything Cedarville is trying to do around communications and marketing? What does PR do that maybe other areas aren't doing?
Well, it's a great platform to really reach a lot of people seamlessly, to tell our story, to enhance our brand, to reinforce our brand and come alongside marketing, come alongside the other entities of campus. So we can reach a wider audience through PR, through social media, on all the channels you could think of, media relations, whether that's, that used to just be radio and TV and print, but now it's digital and everything. So the PR world is, I think about it, from when I started back in 1988, students weren't even alive yet. to where it is now, how much it's just changed. It was really simplistic back then, and it's really much more complex now.
So that's actually one of my questions. You jumped ahead of me, but let's just go there.
And I didn't know what questions she was asking me.
Yes, let's see my questions. How have you seen the whole field of PR change during your 30-year career? What are some of the practical things that are different today than they were when you started?
Well, you guys will laugh. You'll laugh. But, I think about my first job in PR back in 1988. I'm just going to talk on first of all, social media didn't exist. So that's one big change.
Right.
Okay. And we'll get that off. But when I think of like media relations, that's always been there. It's always been a major element of college PR, I would say. But I remember if I had a news release that needed to be written, it would be drafted. Initially, it was drafted on a typewriter. I'm going old. I'm old. But then obviously we graduated to computers, but it would still have to be put in an envelope, addressed, and mailed.
Wow.
I mean, we went from mailing news releases, and then we went to faxing news releases. We thought that was really big.
That's right.
To now, everything can be done on this phone. And so I don't have to be in the office. I can be anywhere. The reason why I'm not in class tonight, I'm on vacation in Michigan, and I can use my phone. If there's a crisis, I can send emails. I can do anything with a phone. So that's a quick snapshot of how it's changed. Just technology has changed the landscape of PR.
And we've so seen that in COVID. I mean,
Right.
we've been able to function remotely
Right.
for, it was about 6 months that we were really working remotely and didn't lose a step.
No.
So it's amazing how technology has changed things. Okay, so our textbook has a statement. It says, PR pros are an organization's master storytellers. In a word, they do content. So talk about the stories that your team tells for Cedarville. How do you find the stories? Which ones do you choose? I mean, there's probably more stories than you can possibly tell. And then how do you go about telling them?
Okay, well, how do we find our stories is our department is organized where we have 5 student writers who we assign to a specific beat. So by beat, I mean one student may have the School of Pharmacy, the School of Nursing, and Business Administration. I just made that up as an example. So that student would communicate with the deans and the faculty on a regular basis, almost a daily basis. What's going on in your area? So we can hear some stories. And then actually we hear a lot of stories just by the students living on campus hearing comments from other students. And then they'll bring back the idea and then we'll decide whether we want to do it or not. I always talk to our students that when we're writing a story, to write it with a external audience in mind. Don't write it for the Cedarville audience. It'll adapt to the Cedarville audience, but let's write our news releases, our stories for external media, external people, and so that's how we write. And then how we get the stories to the media, we do it through social media. The media follow me, and we post stories on my Twitter account, or primarily a Twitter account. Sarah Gump handles social media, and she posts things on all the platforms that we use at the university. And then I will pitch to reporters, whether it's local, regional, or national, the story. So like, for example, next week when I get back from vacation, you're getting a little inside information. We have a story that we have an alumna who is 108 years old. Actually, will turn 108 years old on April 28th. So What a great story. The fact that she's even around. And people from our advancement office decided to, she was an education major, so they got over 108 birthday cards, gave them to Dr. Kevin Jones in the School of Education. Students from that school hand wrote notes of congratulations, happy birthday. So that's one story we found out that's what's going on. And now we're going to go to her place of residence in Columbus or in London on April 28th and give her the cards and honor her, and then really inside information that Dr. Splee doesn't even know yet. A cool thing about PR is not just writing stories.
Right.
It's really it's all about relationships and developing relationships. So I reached out yesterday to Senator Bob Hackett, who is from London, and I personally know Bob. Mm-hmm. He took me to an Ohio State football game. It was terrible.
He's been on our campus many times.
Yeah, he's a great friend of the university.
That's one of the things we don't like about Mark is he's a Michigan fan.
That's okay. And so Senator Hackett's going to write a proclamation.
Awesome.
For Geraldine. And then I just talked this morning to the governor's office, and the governor's either going to write a proclamation or write a personal letter. Mm. And so it's writing stories. I'm going off your question a little bit, but it's writing stories, but it's also finding other ways to present goodwill to our constituencies and just trying to put it all together in a way that is informative, honoring, important. What else did you ask on that question that I didn't answer?
How do you find them? Which ones do you choose, and how do you tell them? I think you've covered that.
Yeah, and we tell them again, through using all kinds of technology to.
And every one is on our website too, so it becomes content that external crawlers, Google crawlers, can find. So that if there's an interest in it drives traffic to our website.
Yeah. Now I don't know if you're going to get to this because I don't know your questions, but I'll say this one thing when we do, and then if you want to hold it, we can. But not only do we do stories about our students and our programs, that's very important to us, but we also push our faculty to be experts on national topics. So you can't watch the TV news today and not hear about COVID or some controversy or some issue in our government. And so through a third-party organization, we're able to match Cedarville faculty with whatever story it is. Case in point, Dr. Mark Caleb Smith in History and Government. He's probably the leading political scientist in the state of Ohio. This year he's done over 200 interviews. With the presidential election, he was sought after daily, and it was the goal was to not overtax him, but yet give him the opportunity. So he was seen on stations all over the country. And then just last week, and it's really fun, it's a new development, that Dr. Dan DeWitt was in this newsroom, and he did an interview with a national TV program, news program, that is aired, continues to air. It was on the decline of church memberships. And then at the end, I told you this, at the end, she asked, what's the meaning of Good Friday? And Dan just walked right through the gospel message, and that did air, actually, not on secular TV, but it was on K-Love. So we're always looking for ways to get the name Cedarville University out in a effective, God-honoring way.
Yeah, one of our motto is to tell Cedarville stories for God's glory, which is such a powerful vision statement for our division. Yeah. So they might be interested to know some faculty that are kind of like in the media a lot, because they would know some of them. So just talk about, you mentioned Dr. Smith, you mentioned Dr. DeWitt. What are some other faculty you work closely with? Yeah,
well, Dr. Smith is number one, for sure. But not too far behind him, and he's a rising star, and I love working with Dr. Zach Jenkins in the School of Pharmacy. A quick note that a year and a half ago, before COVID hit, Dr. Jenkins had done 3 interviews in a calendar year, in a 12-month period of time. Right now, with a few more months in the way I document when the school year starts to the end. He's over 135 interviews because he's an infectious disease expert. Right. So people are always seeking his insight. So he's one. Dr. Glenn Dewar, international relations. If there's a terrorist attack, a crisis internationally, people seek him. Dr. Mark Clausen has picked up a lot. Really, credit goes to many of the faculty in the history and government department. And I'm thankful for that because that's taken a little pressure off of Dr. Smith.
Yeah.
So those are the key ones. Dr. Heyman in the School of Business, since this program is in his school, he's done a lot. He's done around 20. Dr. Tarwater has done several. So what's enjoyable for me, besides just telling the stories and connecting our experts, is seeing how the faculty on campus have responded to requests and they've stepped up. So when we first started this 8 years ago, it was pretty much Dr. Smith.
Right.
But now we're going to celebrate faculty in another week or two, and we have 40 people who have been added to the media experience. So that's only good it's always good for the university.
Right.
And what it does is it sheds light on the faculty's academic program, and it helps prospective students. When we put it on our website to say, I'm going to be learning from that person. I want to go to Cedarville University.
Right.
Those are reasons why we do it as well.
Which I would really see PR forming such a foundation for us in terms of demonstrating academic quality, credibility of the institution, the gospel impact that we try to have. A lot of those stories come right out of PR.
Yeah.
And so I so appreciate the work that you do.
And it's really hard to quantify the impact on the university. I mean, you know as well as I do. The organization that I get I can connect my faculty with media nationally also allows me to track data. And this year we're having our best year in terms of analytic numbers. But how does that translate into students? Hopefully, the 2.5 billion people who have seen our stories, maybe half of 1% will come. I don't know.
But you're laying that foundation.
We're laying the foundation,
which is so awesome. And for our students who haven't been in the Cedarville area, many of you for any length of time, there was a day that I can remember that Cedarville University was never in the news. We wouldn't have faculty commenting on issues. It would be University of Dayton or Wright State, which are the larger universities in the Miami Valley. Yeah. And now Cedarville University faculty are the go-to. And obviously we have the Lord to thank for that.
Absolutely.
We have very quality faculty who are willing to give up their time. And then, Mark, you have developed some incredible relationships with media in the area and regionally and even nationally to be able to open those doors for us.
And that's PR.
That's PR, which is what you do so
well.
In
a nutshell.
So last question that I have for you, and you kind of alluded to it, but how do you measure the success of the work that you do?
Well, I go to... Personally, I go to 2 Corinthians 10:31, that whatever I do, whether I eat or drink, I do all to the glory of God. If that is my focus and that's my intent and that's my drive, then whatever results come, I view as successful.
Yeah.
It's not about numbers to me. It used to be. Before I got to Cedarville, I'm driven by numbers. I'm still driven by numbers.
He gives great reports with lots of numbers.
I never wanted to do the same level of work as I did the year before. I always want to somehow improve it. So, but the bottom line is, success can only be defined by, am I honoring God in all that I do? And He provides the results. I used to think, I'll give you a real quick story. I know you're out of class time.
You're totally fine.
But when I was at Geneva, we recreated the very first college basketball game, and it was played by Geneva College through research.
Right.
And somehow that story got on NBC National. And for the longest time, I'm thinking, man, I am good at what I do because I got it on. It wasn't me. I don't even know how it got on there, except the Lord orchestrated it. And that's refreshing and freeing to be in that environment, to have that mindset, because it's all up to the Lord, and all the success and glory goes to Him anyways.
So I think I have some pretty amazing students in my class. If any of them wanted to consider working for PR, what types of student jobs do we have in the public relations office, and how would they connect with you?
Well, you can connect with me by sending me an email at mweinstein@cedarville.edu. If you didn't get that, Dr. Splee can tell you later. We look for students who like to tell stories through the written word. So you need to be willing and able to ask questions to people. Sometimes that's one of the biggest hurdles for our students is they're a little intimidated to go. They have a story, they need to interview Dr. Splee. They're a little intimidated to go see her because she's a vice president or a faculty member. So you have to get over that, and you will if you work with us. And so have the ability to write. We hire primarily communication students, but they don't have to be. We just look for good writers and people who have a drive to tell Cedarville stories.
So Mark, I just want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom and experience with our students. And students, I look forward to us kind of continuing the conversation on public relations. But Mark, thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Splee.